Thanks for viewing and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time, subscribe so you don't miss the latest uploads. Now let's get started.
Linus's corpse explosion, triggering a large blast, seeing which the onlookers say that the score went up by 6,000 again, and he killed 120 monsters at once. They wonder if this class has surpassed the legendary classes, but remark that they can't say that yet, since being powerful in low levels doesn't mean it will stay the same when the level increases, so they should observe a little more. Lin remarks that the aura of death increased and says there are at least 40 beast man packs scattered around. The levels of monsters increased and their numbers doubled, so judging by this difficulty, other professions will have a hard time passing phase 2, so it will take a lot of time either way, but it doesn't apply to him, so there isn't any need to worry. The man watching says that there is only one profession from a century ago that passed phase 3 in the campaign space in the history of Shen Zia exams, and that Lin Moyu has a high chance since he's too overpowered and has probably awakened a talent. If he actually has, then that's great news for mankind, so maybe he'll awaken a talent again when he undergoes a second unlock, but professions with talents are extremely rare and dual talents are 1 in a million. As Lin's total score reaches 34,605, the guys watching say that he's reached phase 2 and question if he killed 200 monsters in one go again. In Ziajing, Shen Zia's capital empire, and in the real location of the Trial Tower, two gigantic entities fight against each other as three onlookers remark that they never thought the bastards from the Abyss would dare to commit a sneak attack, and the evil light is so fast so they came prepared, and the goal is their children in the campaign space. The guys from the Abyss sneaked inside and disrupted the space, so the power of the Abyss is polluting the rules. One of them says the ground inside the tower was taken from Abyss soil, so it is advantageous to them. Bai Yiyuan asks how long it will take to correct this. The man answers that it'd be an hour. Meanwhile, someone asks why the monsters suddenly disappeared before Lin sees Ziazu and wonders what happened to the campaign space and why the examinees can meet each other. She says she was killing monsters and it suddenly disappeared, asking if he knows what happened before Bai Yiyuan suddenly appears in the sky and introduces himself. Seeing him, a man questions why the god Bai appeared and if something happened to the campaign space. Bai Yiyuan explains that the demons from the Abyss world have invaded the campaign space and their target is them. They are doing their best to repair the rules, and it is estimated to take them an hour. Xianzhu repeats what he said about the Abyss and the demons invading the campaign space in shock, as Bai Yiyuan says they must protect themselves in the coming hour since they don't know how the demons rising from the Abyss will act against them. But he believes that there is nothing the power of the Abyss can do against them if they stay united, and they will not be afraid to die while fighting. As the army loudly starts chanting it, Lin says the weakest monsters from the Abyss are level 70, so if God Bai says they can fight against them, the power must not be that strong. As the people tell each other to believe in God Bai, the Abyss of the Blood Moon suddenly appears and the power of the Abyss starts acting, so everyone gets ready, hearing which it answers that 1 hour is enough for it to kill them all. Ziazu asks what they'll do. Lin answers that it's troublesome but manageable and questions if the enhanced elites will give him experience points. It asks if they're frightened now and remarks that the White God said that as long as they work together, they would win, so there's one for each of them to take. As Ziazu asks Lin what he's doing and worryingly says there's more than 100 level 19 enhanced elite monsters there, but he tells her to go back, which she strongly refuses, so he just dismisses it, remarking that it doesn't really affect him anyway. As he's walking forward, the others ask what he's doing and question what the necromancer class is, and if he's the one controlling all those skeletons, before they all step forward with him and declare that they do not shy away from battle or fear of death, hearing which it gleefully says someone finally wants to die, and that it would be a pity to kill them now, so they should consider being the Demon King's slave. He tells them to consider it because the gate will be opened especially for them. Lin remarks that it's approximately 50 meters, which is the best distance for corpse explosion to work the most effectively. The others ask why he stopped, to which he answers that here is enough and unleashes 100 skeletal warriors, seeing which they question how he has so many and what profession he has, remarking that they're really fast, and a woman says they're even faster than her, whose main attribute is agility. Lin uses Rage Strike, but sees in surprise that the monsters are still alive, remarking that they must have around 3,000 strength, so their constitution must be around pretty 500 for them to still live, but with how corpse explosion works, the higher the constitution, the better. Killing a monster, he happily sees that they give experience too, and says that even though the experience is a little small, it's still better than nothing at all, and there's quite a lot of them as well. He instantly uses Corpse Explosion and instantly defeats them all, seeing which the others ask how he's so professional and remark that necromancy really is an amazing profession. Seeing this, the Demon King unbelievably says it's impossible and vows to drink his blood and eat his flesh before unleashing even more monsters. Lin looks up and says he's there and jumps forward, to which the Demon King asks what he's doing before Lin uses Corpse Explosion and asks if it's still alive. The Demon King angrily asks what kind of skill this is and how he's able to burn its soul, telling him that there's no way a profession like that can exist, as Lin lands down and says this is the price of invading, while one of the gods says the power of the abyss is getting weaker. Bai Yiyuan asks if all the people in the tower dead, but he says he can still feel the energy of many people there, and only the abyss aura is getting weaker, so the Demon King must be injured, so Bai tells him to say that earlier because he was getting worried, so he tells him to just not relapse his aura without thinking from next time. Bai says the Abyss Demon uses the power of the ability to disrupt the rules of the battle space. The god asks who's able to hurt it, since even they can't enter inside, to which Bai wonders if it's those candidates who are level 15 and 16. The Demon King angrily says it'll kill him, and tells everyone to kill him, seeing which Lin realizes that Corpse Explosion leveled up, and after the blessing, the radius of Corpse Explosion will be 20 meters and deal 150% damage, wondering if this is a type of skill that requires repeated use and familiarity to upgrade, or if the skills learned using scrolls can be upgraded. Seeing the army of monsters rushing at them, he remarks that this is perfect timing. As Lin levels up, the others wonder who he is, and if he actually used those monsters to level up, and thankfully remark that they'd be doomed without him, as the Demon King escapes and says it'll remember him as the battle space returns to normal, and the others wonder if they won, while the gods say that the abyss consciousness has been eradicated and the battle space is being restored, so Bai Yiyuan asks how the kids are, to which he says they're perfectly fine and haven't suffered any casualties, to which Bai Yiyuan says it's completely different from what he expected and wonders what exactly happened in the battle space. He says they should teleport the kids back just to be safe and should retrace what happened inside the battle space, as Ziazu asks Lin if he's okay before Bai appears in front of them all again and says the abyssal power has disappeared and the battle space is back to normal, so they will be sent to their original testing site and the exam results will be announced later, hearing which Ziazu inwardly says they couldn't even contend against those orc warriors, but Lin was thankfully here. An announcement tells them that the main combat exam is over and tells the examinees to wait for the final score evaluation. As the examiner says, the main combat exam results consists of points and evaluations. Top-tier academies aren't just about having high points, because the evaluation needs to be excellent as well, and their evaluations, unlike other examinees, are given directly by the high-ranking officials of the Shenzia Empire. Wondering what exactly happened in the battle space, but looking forward to what kind of evaluation Lin Moyu will receive. One of the gods says this year's evaluations are a bit difficult, to which another one asks what's difficult about it, since the ones who fled are all cowards and would just desert their comrades on the battlefield in the future, so they can't be relied on since they're teachers in the end, and Lin Moyu's performance was excellent, but they'll have to discuss for the others. As Lin receives first place and becomes the top scorer, old Lin energetically celebrates outside, seeing which the others remark that he'll be bragging about that one for 20 more years. Zia Zhu congratulates Lin and says he looks pretty good while smiling, telling him to do that more, as Wang Jiao comes in 5th place and says once it comes out, none of the top 20 high-tier academies of the empire will accept him. He angrily asks why they gave him a poor evaluation without evidence before being expelled for violating the rules of the exam area. A voice announces that for combat class professions, this year's top scorer in Jiangning province is Lin Moyu before silencing them and saying that an imperial order has arrived, stating that Lin Moyu has become the national top scorer. Hearing this, old Lu blissfully starts celebrating, seeing which the others remark that he's going to brag about him for a lifetime. The other examinees congratulate Lin Moyu and tell him that they would have been in trouble if it wasn't for him saying they'll meet again at Ziajing Academy and will treat him to a dinner next time before Zia Zhu says he doesn't talk too much and has only ever spoken 10 sentences with her, which he corrects her for and says it was 26 sentences. At Lin Moyu's house, he tells his sister and grandma that he'll be at Ziajing Academy soon and has become the national top sorcerer before Principal Lu arrives at his house with Bai Yiyuan covered in his aura. Lin asks why he's here before quickly taking his sword out, but Bai dispels his aura and says it was a good reaction seeing him. Lin quickly bows and respectfully greets Lord Bai Shen. Bai says he came here to talk to him about the matter of the Ziajing Academy, inwardly calling him a good seedling for being calm, composed, and with excellent instinctive reactions. Lu asks him to not mind since Moyu's sister went here last year, so he has been living alone, to which Bai thinks that it's really remarkable that both siblings were able to enter Ziajing Academy. Moreover, having a genius like him is even more uncommon. He sees that Lin's skeletal warrior has 4 attributes at level 250 and asks how he achieved that, hearing which he becomes surprised and remarks that it seems like others can't see the talent-boosted attributes of the skeletal warrior class. Bai asks what talent he awakened, which surprises Lu, who wasn't aware that he had awakened one. Lin says his talent is amplification, which amplifies all skills. Hearing this, Bai inwardly says that makes sense and tells him that he has 2 things to discuss. First is the reward from Ziajing Academy, and the second is to take him to the academy because they will conduct a trial the day after tomorrow, so he's hoping Lin can participate. Lin inquires about the nature of the talent, to which he explains that it's an internal trial within Ziajing Academy where the participants are all their own internal students, but he can't disclose the specifics until he agrees to participate. Lin inwardly says participation isn't mandatory, so the decision is up to him, wondering what he means by internal participants and that the trial's content is seemingly unusual. Bai says he can't disclose much, but he will tell him that the trial opportunity is rare because Lin would have not been able to participate under normal circumstances, hearing which Lin agrees to join. Bai laughs and says he should give him he rewards first in that case, since they are quite large. He shows him a card, explaining that the first reward is 100,000 points in addition to his exam score, and that he should have heard that points are more useful than gold in the academy. The second reward is 1 primary skill scroll and 1 intermediate skill scroll. The third item is based on his performance in the battle space and is an additional reward for him, a qualification granting him permission to enter the Divine Summer Tower once, a very precious qualification, so he should prepare especially well for his first time before going. Lin says he understands, remarking that it surely holds importance if the Lord is stressing it so much before Bai tells him to tidy up a bit so that they can head to Ziajing Academy, and Lu later wishes him luck before he teleports with Bai. As they arrive in Ziajing Academy, Bai says the gate is a weapon in addition to being an entrance because the strongest of experts would need to pay a huge price to forcefully enter. He shows Lin to his room, where a boy asks what room he would like, but he decides to go for the single-room dormitory and registers his ID, saying that having so many points is the reward for being the national top scorer. The next day, a girl enters his room and says she'll take him around the academy, so they head to the cafeteria where she tells him to always use coins where points aren't necessary before he gives her the core crystal of the Goblin King. Surprised, she says this will at least go for at least 1,000,000 coins if sold. Later, they complete his enrollment procedures before she reveals that she has a task on hand and introduces him to a girl named Tao Tao, who's a level 23 elf knight as the national top scorer, and Lin says he's a level 17 necromancer, hearing which a boy asks if he's kidding him and says she can't just bring anyone along. The girl asks the boy, Ling Zhen, what he means and tells him to watch his words. He smugly answers that being the top scorer is nothing compared to the Hidden Dragon team, and that all the previous top scorers were trash. He stands up and tells Lin to not think he can do whatever he wants just because he has a connection to Lord Bai Shen, because it's all about strength in their Hidden Dragon team, so it's fine to bring him along. But he should just keep his mouth shut and try not to drag them down, or else he won't be polite. Lin asks if he's going nuts, saying that even the young lady of the Xia family isn't as arrogant as him. The man furiously asks what he said, activating his power, but Tao Tao tells him to stop. He says he's being considerate of her and stops before Tao Tao tells Lin that they'll meet tomorrow at 9 and can only then tell him about the trial's content before he goes to make preparations with the girl. Tao Tao asks Ling to not bring his personal grievances in the trial. He answers that he has his boundaries and just wanted to know what kind of person replaced his brother. She says he's a national top scorer and must have done something extraordinary to achieve that, and his class is unique too. He says they should ensure someone's useful if they're bringing him along, and most classes are trash every year. So this necromancer one is probably one of them. Lin goes to buy healing potions, mana potions, and communication devices with the girl before they both exchange contacts and leave for their rooms. Lin uses his primary skill scroll and remarks that he needs to prepare more for this trial, using talent amplification. His range reached 50 meters, and the slowing effect increased to 50%, along with which the duration has also extended to 10 minutes, so his skills can now be categorized into summoning, attack, and curse series, which are all very important and strong. The next day, he wakes up to the girl telling him to quickly come get breakfast before they leave, and Tao Tao later tells them all to not wander around aimlessly once they've teleported over, and to deal with their internal conflicts after the trial. And should know that this is important. They get ready to introduce themselves, with a girl named Miao Yu, a boy named Duan Gao, Ling Zhen, Zhong Tao Tao, Lin Moyu, and the girl, Ning Yi, before Tao Tao says they have to work together in this trial or else they shouldn't blame her for being rude. They begin the trial teleportation and instantly arrive at the Divine Xia Tower. Surprised, Lin questions if the tower's power teleported them before they reach Mission Island, and Tao Tao finds a mission stone, telling everyone to touch it in order to learn of their missions. They find that they have to defeat the final boss and obtain the Mermaids tier, only 3 of which are available, meaning that only the top 3 teams will be able to fulfill the mission. Lin explains that the Mermaids tier dungeon is located at the center of Mermaid Island, so in a nutshell, it's just a matter of clearing the dungeon, wondering if the Mermaids tier contains some special properties. Tao Tao says the Mermaids tier can be used to craft valuable equipment and has significant effects, but other countries also come to Mermaid Island, so they'll be competing with students from entirely different countries as well. She tells them to not let their guards down because deaths have occurred before, and to deal with it their way if a conflict arises. As they get ready to head out and apply their buffs, Lin summons a warrior and asks Duan Gao if he can apply a buff to it as well, but it doesn't work, so Lin's skeleton fires up. Ling angrily asks if he wants, but Tao Tao cuts him off and says they can do that later, to which he inwardly questions why he feels like he's about to die whenever that skeleton looks at him that way. The trial begins and everyone heads for the island, as Tao Tao says their target is the mermaid dungeon, so they need to move fast, and tells them to avoid fighting monsters as much as possible before they instantly run into a merfolk soldier. But Yi quickly slashes it from behind and Tao Tao incinerates it, remarking that it'll take them at least 3 hours to reach the island's center. Now that level 21 monsters have appeared, they're too slow and can't clear out the monsters anymore, so Mao Yu is in charge of control because they're going to rush through, so Mao Yu uses Windbind. 20 minutes later, Tao Tao says they're still falling behind and asks if they have a chance if they charge ahead. but Mao Yu says there's too many for her to control, and the monsters are above level 22, making them higher than her skills, which might fail. Hearing this, she remarks that charging in directly could prove dangerous to them if they end up getting surrounded, but if they clear the path along the way, it'll take it at least another hour, after which they'll fall even further behind. Lin asks her to let him do it. Ling asks what he can do when he's a level 17 and hasn't even lifted a finger the entire time, so he should just keep hiding behind woman before Yi Yi frustratingly tells him to shut up. Cao Cao asks Lin what his plan is, to which he answers that he will use the skeletal warriors to distract the monsters, which Cao Cao agrees to as the skeleton instantly rushes forward in a blitz of speed, clearing their path, seeing which she instantly tells them to move. Later, Lin recalls the skeletal warrior as Cao Cao commends him for the strategy, but Ling asks why they couldn't have just done that in the first place, hearing which Yi Yi angrily tells him to go up the mountain himself if he's so talented, after which Ling says it's only because of the summon and Lin's just trash himself before they suddenly get attacked. Cao Cao says it's people from Country Y because it's their country's unique class, Shikigami Summoners. A woman summons a gigantic beast, seeing which Cao Cao alarmingly says the Shikigami skill can summon ancient gods, so they're doing this to stop them from reaching the mountain. The woman tells another party to stay here and teleport themselves away, because the dungeon belongs to their country. Why this time? The party members worryingly remark that it'll take them hours to take out the merfolk monsters gathered here. As the adventurers hurriedly try looking for a summoner to clear the monsters away, even if there's so many, Cao Cao asks Lin if he can do this, so he starts drawing the monsters away, but there's still 2/3 of them left, so he summons another one, surprising her before remarking that there isn't any need to use corpse explosion right now since it would just steal his experience. He sends the second warrior and summons another one, after which the party members thank him and get going to not let the Shikigami summoners get cocky, as Ling annoyingly watches from behind. As the party from Country Y is progressing, a man asks how they got here and should have been held back for a few hours at least. He orders the archers to get ready as they shoot, but the parties quickly deploy their magic shields. After the first round of clashes, Ling Zhen declares that either he or Lin Moyu can stay in the team, inwardly remarking that she'll definitely try keeping him as the damage dealer since the other teams are looking for mages so he can kick Lin Moyu out, but Cao Cao says he should leave the team in that case. Shocked, Ling asks if she wants him to leave the team and says they won't be able to pass if he does that, asking if she doesn't want to get to the Creation Seminary anymore. She declines this and questions if he's forgotten what her profession is, remarking that as an elven knight, she has her own beliefs and cannot fulfill his demands. He annoyingly whips around and says he hopes she doesn't regret her decision. Lin says they should enter the dungeon and Yi Yi excitedly agrees, so Cao Cao asks how they're going to do that, and Mao Yu and Duan Gao just decide to follow along. She says they can just retreat in the worst case scenario, so it'll at least not be as dangerous with her around, wondering why Yi Yi trusts Lin Moyu that much. As they reach the entrance, the students from Country Y angrily tell them to get lost, but the other parties see that they're insulting the party with Lin, the guy who summoned the skeletons, and declare that they won't let him be bullied, as Ling smugly says they just want to die. As the battle begins, Lin summons a group of his skeletal warriors, surprising everyone as they realize that he can actually summon that way. As the skeletons block all the attacks, the guys from Country Y distressingly question what kind of broken profession he has and how he can summon so many at once that are blocking all their attacks as the parties are about to enter the dungeon. The Y fighters rush forward to stop him, but he chooses Nightmare level and instantly teleports his entire party. Yi Yi tells Cao Cao to relax since his skeletons are really powerful, to which she remarks that she hopes their attacks are strong enough as well, so that she can do her best to block the monsters. She tells Mao Yu to heal her accordingly before they suddenly realize something and ask why they're receiving experience points now. Cao Cao sees that his warriors killed enhanced nightmare level monsters in one shot, and it'd take at least 1 to 2 minutes even if they had a perfect party. Lin Moyu orders the skeletons to keep looking for the target, and Yi says she told them his skeletons were amazing and orders them to hurry along, to which Duan Gao says they're still digesting the situation, but Cao Cao tells him that there isn't any point in understanding the situation right now, so they should just hurry up and follow. As the skeletons use Rage Strike, she says this is the first time she's felt this relaxed clearing a dungeon and would usually be at the front, protecting her teammates and watching the moves of the enemy. But it doesn't look like she won't even need to attract any violence from the monsters. Mao Yu and Duan Gao remark that it doesn't look like they're needed before they reach a dead end, and remark that there aren't a lot of monsters here. Yi looks below them and sees the final boss, the Merfolk Queen's Serpent. Lin says its attributes are even higher than the Goblin King and his skeletons are at 2700. Cao Cao decides to draw it away, but he says there isn't any need for that and sends out the skeletal warriors using Lash. Cao Cao says it's too agile and asks what they can do, so he uses Slow Curse and decreases its speed, seeing which she asks if it's a curse-type skill, which he agrees to. She remarks that he has powerful summons and even a curse-type skill, questioning what else a necromancer can do before he uses Death Strangle to bind the serpent, which tries shooting venom, but it doesn't affect the skeletons since they're the undead, before they finally stab the roof of its mouth, seeing which she asks if it's over. Yi tells Duan Gao and Mao Yu to quit stoning and get going, to which he shakily says he's gained so much experience even when he hasn't done anything, but Cao Cao says they should get going and orders them to follow Lin Moyu. Because that leader's name was the pet snake of the Merqueen, the boss will probably be the queen of the Merpeople. Yi says there's a really strong fishy smell before they enter an area where she counts 60 patrols in total, meaning 180 merpeople, which are all enhanced elite monsters. Seeing them, Lin remarks that the more monsters there are, the better it is for him, and sends a warrior forward, seeing which Cao Cao wonders if rushing them out isn't a bit rash, even if they're really strong, but the skeletons rush forward and start using their moves. Alarmed, Yi says the other patrols are coming forward, so he tells them to cover their ears and unleashes a large attack. Everyone asks what happened as they start receiving a lot of experience at once. Cao Cao questions what talent this is and how he's so strong as they receive a barrage of notifications alerting them of their rise in experience before the palace door opens, and they come face to face with the queen of the Merpeople, whose beauty surprises Yi and leaves her in awe, seeing which Lin realizes that it's an enchantment. He shakes them off as Mao Yu explains that the queen of the Merpeople has enchantment magic which they all fell for, so it's lucky that Lin was here to stop them, or else the entire party might have been wiped out. The queen uses her move, Fearsome Shriek, seeing which Cao Cao says that given the type of this queen of the Merpeople and the way a normal 6-man team fights, it'll take at least an hour to beat it. But now she's unable to predict Lin's moves. The power level of the queen is too high, so even the skeletons won't be able to stand against it. She says the feeling this scene gives her is that of a pack of lions foolishly trying to kill a lion, where it's difficult to tell winner from loser. The queen charges her spear forward and instantly defeats a warrior, seeing which she tells Duan Gao to buff them and get ready for battle, since they'll advance once Lin's soldiers are down, but he says there isn't any need for that and applies the slowing curse on the queen, who uses an attack swimming wave. Cao Cao says it doesn't look like the soldiers will be able to hold out for long, so it should be their turn soon, and tells Lin to order the soldiers to retreat now, but he summons the remaining 87 soldiers at once, telling them to come and play, shocking everyone as they realize that he just didn't bring them out before, and remark that this is why Yi had so much faith in him all along. She remarks that he's become stronger again and has done so in a rate that has exceeded her expectations. As the queen keeps fighting against the skeletons, she uses her Tears of the Queen, and Mao Yu says she's too low-leveled, so there's no way for her to counter its ability. But Lin tells her to not worry, inwardly saying that his vigor stat is high enough, so he wouldn't be affected by the boss's vigor-affecting ability, and his skeleton soldiers are emotionless and fearless dead souls that won't even feel any pain before the skeletons successfully kill the Mermaid Queen, and they acquire the Tear of the Merpeople, seeing which Yi happily says they're done with the trial mission and are one step closer to the Academy of Genesis. Cao Cao agrees to this and says once they finish a few more trial missions and increase their level, they'll definitely be able to do that. Duan Gao says all of the credit belongs to Lin, without whom they wouldn't have been able to complete the trial before Lin asks for a cooldown talisman from Yuri. As the Y guys see Cao Cao's party teleporting outside, they remark that it hasn't even been half an hour, and remarks that they just ran away because they probably couldn't fight anything, and that the skeletons are for show only, while the other parties tells Lin that it's okay because the thing that counts is his safety, while Ling asks what use it is if it's going to go like this, and Cao Cao takes out her shield, telling everyone to be careful. But Yi says she should relax since they have Lin with them, and should carry out what they planned before they teleport and go in again. The onlookers question how she was able to get such a high-level item, but discuss that they only saw 2 of them entering the nightmare level. Cao Cao says they can already count on them now, but Mao Yu reassures her that they'll be fine, which she agrees with, since even if it's nightmare level, Lin will probably be able to clear it alone. In the level, Yi says she didn't think he'd be helping her level up so soon and tells him to not give up halfway, saying that the remaining use for the cooldown talisman is enough for both of them to clear the dungeon twice, so they'll need to grab full use of this opportunity to grab all of the merfolk's tears and will clear the dungeon as quickly as possible. They successfully defeat the patrols and the serpent, as Lin remarks that it took half an hour to reach the final stage the previous time, but only took them 5 minutes this time. Yi says he's a lot more amazing than she'd thought before they head towards the queen, as she hides behind Lin, saying she won't be enchanted this time if she doesn't look at her, and tells Lin to go destroy her, so he instantly uses Slow Curse and Corpse Explosion to blow her up, after which Yi levels up and says they should quickly go for another round to get the rest of the tears, which he agrees to, inwardly saying she was level 19 and he was 10 when he first met her, but it's taken her so long to level up once, so it looks like she really doesn't like farming for levels. They teleport back, seeing which the onlookers ask how they could have been done so quickly, and if they haven't even killed a single monster, remarking that they're just wasting the cooldown talisman and should be responsible if they're so rich, but they instantly teleport back, and she says they should see if they can be done with it even faster now. Hearing this, he remarks that she really is treating this like a game now, and a while later, they're done in 8 minutes 58 seconds, 30 seconds faster than last time. Lin says they should return now that they're done, and she remarks that she really can't wait to see the looks on their faces before they return to the real world. The Y guys say they just wasted their cooldown talisman and probably ran away without fighting a single monster before Cao Cao asks if they got them all, and Yi cheekily replies that there weren't any problems as the dungeon starts disappearing. Shocked, the others present their question why this is happening, and say that it can only happen if all of the merfolk tears were taken before remembering that they visited the dungeon 3 times, so it must be them. Cao Cao's party decides to get going since they're done, but the Y guys angrily tell them to hand over the tears or else they'll use force, but the Zia Jing parties declare that they can't let them take the tears away from Cao Cao's party, as the woman from before unleashes her gods, but Ling uses Soul Blaze on them as she angrily tells him to die.
Will RMC's luck run out, and will he and E be able to survive this ambush from the Y guys? Find out on the next upload of Catastrophic. Also remember to like and subscribe, and tell us in the comments what other manhwa summaries you would like us to upload. Once again, thanks for watching.